Good morning, one and all. In today's video lesson, we are going to discuss PWM inverters, pulse width modulated inverters. In the earlier days, we are using controlled operation across the load end by using a variable rheostat. By adjusting the variable rheostat setting, the current which is flowing through the rheostat will be changing. Accordingly, we are getting the voltage drop across the load. But by using those technique, there will be some amount of power loss across the rheostat, and it requires the additional rheostat circuit, and some amount of power loss will be occurred. So nowadays, latest trends after invention of these thyristor family devices, we are having continuous switching on and switching off process. Accordingly, we are getting the required voltage at the load end. So in recent days, to control the load end, like LEDs glowing on and off, intensity control of LED, similarly a speed control of the processor which is placed in CPU, and for supplying required voltage to other appliances, we are going with the pulse width modulated inverters. Pulse width modulated inverters. In this today's class, we are mainly focused on PWM inverters, pulse width modulated inverters. So in the previous class, we have started our discussion in chapter 3 with respect to inverters and cycloconverters. And in this, we have mainly focused on inverter. Actually, inverter is a device which converts fixed DC into variable AC. The variation in AC is with respect to magnitude of voltage and its frequency. Then we come across the classification of inverters. The inverters are mainly classified. These are very important questions in SBTT. That's why in every video lesson we are frequently repeating these points. Inverters are mainly classified based on source. They are classified as voltage source inverter and current source inverter. Based on the connection of semiconductor devices, they are classified as bridge inverter, series inverter, parallel inverter, and based on the number of phases, they are classified as single phase inverters and three phase inverters. And they are again classified as based on nature of output voltage. They are classified as square wave, quasi square wave, and sine wave. Based on the circuit configuration, they are classified as half bridge inverter and full bridge inverter. And the last one is based on the commutation method adopted for thyristors. Accordingly, they are classified as load commutation inverters, forced commutation inverters, and self commutation inverters. In the most of the cases, we are using only voltage source inverters, and most of the appliance will be having sinusoidal type output across the load end we require. So if we generate a square wave at the output by using some filters, we'll convert this into sinusoidal waveform. Okay, then we discussed single phase bridge inverters. In that, we have mainly focused on single phase half bridge inverter and a full bridge inverter. And the main drawback of this half bridge inverter is we are using 3 wired DC supply, and the source utilization factor is up to 50% only. So to alleviate that problem, we have gone with the single phase. full bridge inverter and detailed circuit diagram and concerned waveforms and circuit operation we have discussed. After that, we have gone through series inverter. In this series inverter, very important, the series inverter and parallel inverter. Frequently, they are asking essay questions on these two topics. Series inverter in this, the components like L and C, which are commutating components, are connected in series with the load. L and C components are connected in series with the load, and the RLC circuit elements should be selected such that the series RLC circuit is forming an underdamped circuit. So that is the most important thing. So we are using load commutation in series inverter. That's why we are choosing this RLC components such that it is forming an underdamped circuit. Okay. In parallel inverter, the commutating component capacitor is connected across the load end through a center tapped transformer, and we are generating the required waveform. And in the previous class, we have discussed three-phase inverter. In some cases, we require three-phase supply, so we need to convert this DC into three-phase AC. To convert this fixed DC into three-phase alternating current waveform, we are using three-phase inverter. In that, we have discussed two modes of operation. One is with respect to 180 degrees conduction of thyristors, and second one is with respect to 120 degree conduction of thyristors. We have observed there will be a problem of short circuit across the source in 180 degrees conduction. To alleviate that, we have gone to the 120 degrees mode of conduction, and accordingly we have drawn the phase voltages and line voltages waveforms. Up to this we have discussed in the last class. In today's class we will mainly focus on the PWM techniques, pulse width modulation techniques, and in that mainly we are having three techniques: single pulse modulation technique, multiple pulse modulation technique, and third one is sinusoidal pulse modulation technique. So after discussing these PWM techniques, we'll go for advantages of inverters. So today, if possible, we will complete this chapter number 3. So with this, chapter number 3 completes. Okay, so we'll discuss PWM technique. Nowadays, these PWM inverters are gradually taking over other types of inverters in industrial applications. These PWM inverters are mainly characterized by constant amplitude pulses. At the output across the load, we are getting voltage as a constant amplitude pulses. The width of these pulses is modulated to obtain inverter output voltage control and to reduce the harmonic content. Actually, these pulse width modulation inverters are characterized by constant amplitude pulses. At the output V naught, we are not having single pulse. We are having number of pulses. So depending on type of modulation technique which we are using, accordingly we are getting constant amplitude pulses at the output, and the width of these pulses is modulated to obtain the inverter output voltage and to reduce its harmonic component. So we are using two waveforms. One is a carrier wave and other one is a reference wave. By changing the frequency of this carrier wave, which is used in modulation, so accordingly we are getting the required output voltage, and its concerned harmonic component will be reduced. So this is regarding pulse width modulation technique. So mainly the advantage what we are getting with pulse width modulation technique are we are having lower harmonic can be eliminated. So the main advantage of this PWM control technique are lower harmonics can be eliminated, higher harmonics can be filtered, and filtering requirements can be minimized. Actually, by using this technique, the lower harmonics can be eliminated, and the higher order harmonics can be filtered by using less number of filtering requirements. The components which required will be minimum in this PWM controlled inverter. The main techniques which we are having in this PWM inverter are single pulse modulation, single pulse modulation, multi-pulse modulation, sinusoidal pulse modulation. Depending upon the type of reference and carrier waves which we are using, accordingly these PWM techniques are classified as single pulse modulation technique, multi-pulse modulation, sinusoidal pulse modulation. We are going to see in detail of these each one right now. So this is the single pulse modulation technique. So this is the carrier wave, triangular wave. So this is the carrier wave, triangular wave, and the reference waveform is the square wave. The square wave is the reference waveform. The both reference waveform and carrier waveform are compared. The intersection points of this carrier wave and reference signal, we are getting the pulse. During the intersection points of the reference wave and carrier wave, we are getting the pulses at the output. So this is for positive half cycle and this is for negative half cycle. So we are getting the pulses, accordingly we are getting the output voltage V0, and we are getting the pulse of width 2D 2D, and the width of the pulse is 2D, and it is symmetrical about pi by 2, point pi by 2. So from pi by 2 to this portion is D, and from pi by 2 to this portion is D. So with the width of this pulse will be 2D, 2D. Okay. And at pi by 2 we are having this positive pulse, and similarly at the point 3 pi by 2 we are having the negative pulse. Actually, this is the output of the single phase full bridge inverter. This portion is output of single phase full bridge inverter. It consists of output waveform, square wave. Okay, this is the V0 waveform, and this wave is modulated with the triangular carrier wave, and the modulated output waveform will be like this. So it is having two pulses of width 2D, and which is symmetrical about this pi by 2 and 3 pi by 2, and the range of the pulse width 2D varies from 0 to pi, varies from 0 to pi. The output voltage is controlled by varying the pulse width. If this pulse width is increased, the average value of output will be increased. This width of the pulse will be decreased, accordingly the output voltage will be reduced. and the shape of this waveform is a quasi square waveform. The output waveform is in the form of quasi square waveform. Quasi square waveform. Actually, what we have observed is here we have taken rectangular waveform is the reference signal, which is the output of the single phase full bridge inverter. This we have modulated with the carrier wave, triangular wave. At this intersection points, we are getting the output waveform, output waveform, and this output waveform V naught will be symmetrical about this pi by 2 and 3 pi by 2, and this waveform is a quasi square waveform, the form of quasi square waveform. For every half cycle, one pulse is available in this control technique. The reference signal is a square wave signal and the carrier signal is a triangular wave. The gate pulse for the switches is generated by comparing the reference signal and carrier signal. The frequency of output voltage is controlled by the frequency of reference signal. The amplitude of the reference signal is AR and the amplitude of carrier signal is AC. Then the modulation index is AR by AC. AR by AC. So this modulation index is nothing but the ratio of amplitude of reference signal to amplitude of carrier signal. And the main drawback of this technique is having higher harmonic component. Having higher harmonic component. As in single pulse modulation, the harmonics generated is more. That's why we are going for multi-pulse modulation techniques. Multi-pulse modulation technique. Now we are going to see regarding multi-pulse modulation technique. So mainly in this we are having two techniques, multi-pulse modulation technique and sinusoidal pulse modulation. So in this multi-pulse modulation technique, the reference wave is the square wave and the carrier waveform is the triangular wave. Triangular wave is the carrier signal and the reference wave is the square wave. The magnitude is BR and frequency is omega. And the carrier wave is triangular wave. Magnitude of this voltage is VR and the frequency is omega c. Omega c. This both waveforms are compared in comparator at the intersection points where we are having magnitude of this carrier wave is more. In that place, the comparator will give output and it will give trigger pulse generator. The output will be given to trigger pulse generator. It will generate the pulses to SCR. It will generate the trigger pulses to SCR. In this multipulse modulation technique, the reference square wave is compared with the carrier triangular wave in a comparator. By comparing these two, whenever the triangular wave is having more magnitude, so at that portion it is giving signal to trigger pulse generator. So during that portion, the trigger pulse generator will be generating pulses to SCR. Then it will activated accordingly. Output voltages will be generated at the output. We are going to see this in waveforms in detail. So these are the waveforms. So on x-axis we are taking time as the reference, and y-axis we are taking voltages. So this square wave will be the output of single phase full bridge output, which is in the form of square wave, and this is the reference signal. reference signal. The reference signal magnitude is Br and its frequency is omega. Frequency is omega. Frequency is omega, and this is the positive portion from 0 to pi. From pi to 2 pi, this will be the negative portion. Okay. And this triangular waveform will be the carrier wave. Carrier wave. This is the carrier wave. This carrier wave will be compared with the reference wave. In a comparator, both the carrier wave and the reference wave are compared. At the intersection point of this carrier wave and the reference square wave, we are having pulses. The duration of this pulse will be according to whenever the triangular wave will be having more magnitude than the reference wave. At that time, we are having trigger pulse. So the trigger pulses will be given to SCR. So during that portion, we are getting output. During that portion, we are getting the output. So actually, this is the supply voltage waveform, but we are having output only this much portion. So during the parts where the carrier wave is having more magnitude than reference wave, during that portion we are getting the pulse at the output. Similarly, here also the triangular wave will be having more magnitude than the reference signal. So that's why we are getting the output. Similarly, at this portion. Here also, so this is the negative half. So during this portion, this triangular wave will be compared with the reference square wave, and during the intersection points of this triangular wave and reference square wave, we are having the trigger pulses. Okay, so depending on the operating frequency of this carrier wave and the reference signal, we are having the trigger pulses. Accordingly, we are getting the output voltage. So this is the total cycle. For this total cycle, we are getting this much voltages. This is for positive half and this is for negative half. Okay, actually the width of this pulse is 2D. Okay, these are the output waveforms for the multiple pulse width modulation. Multiple pulse width modulation technique. Actually, the main drawback of the single phase modulation technique are having more harmonic component, so that will be elevated in this multi pulse width modulation technique. In this technique, instead of one pulse, several pulses are used in each half cycle of the output. So for this waveform, during this positive pulse, how many pulses we are getting? 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 pulses during positive half cycle. Similarly, four pulses during negative half cycle. The gate is generated by comparing the reference signal and the carrier signal. The output frequency is controlled by controlling the frequency of the carrier signal. Frequency of the carrier signal, if we change accordingly, the output voltage and its frequency will be changed. The modulation index is used to control the output voltage. The number of pulses per half cycle will be equal to Fc by 2 into F0, where F0 is the output signal frequency and Fc is the carrier signal frequency. So this is regarding multi-pulse modulation. Now we are going to reach over to sinusoidal pulse modulation technique. Sinusoidal pulse modulation technique. In this method of modulation, several pulses per half cycle are used. For realizing this sinusoidal pulse width modulation, a high frequency triangular wave is used as the carrier wave and it is compared with the reference sinusoidal waveform. Reference sinusoidal waveform. Okay, high frequency triangular wave is compared with the sinusoidal reference wave of the difference frequency of the desired frequency. Okay, so we are going to see. Actually, in this, instead of the square wave, we are using a sinusoidal waveform as the reference wave. The difference between these two techniques is instead of square wave at the multipulse modulation technique that we are replacing with the sinusoidal wave and we are comparing the reference sine wave with the carrier triangular wave in a comparator. So the difference of the portion where the reference wave will be having more magnitude, during that portion we are giving trigger pulse, we are activating the trigger pulse generator and we are giving the trigger pulses. We are giving the trigger pulses in the sinusoidal pulse width modulation technique. In sinusoidal pulse width modulation technique, the reference sine wave is compared with the carrier triangular wave in a comparator. So the comparator will compare these two waveforms and it will give signal to trigger pulse generator where the sine wave will be having more magnitude compared to triangular carrier wave. So during that portion we are generating trigger pulses by using the trigger pulse generator as comparator is activating the trigger pulse generator and trigger pulses will be generated. We are going to see this operation. So these are the waveforms of sinusoidal pulse width modulation. So in this, this is the x-axis. On this we are taking time, and y-axis we are taking the voltages. Okay, so this triangular wave is the carrier wave, and this sinusoidal waveform will be the reference wave. From 0 to pi we are having positive half cycle, and from pi to 2 pi we are having negative half cycle. If we observe during every half cycle we are generating more number of pulses, and here the sinusoidal waveform will be compared with the carrier triangular wave, and during the intersection points of this sinusoidal waveform and the triangular wave, at these intersection points we are generating the pulses. So during these intersection points we are generating the pulses. Okay, and these pulses will be given from the trigger pulse by generating the trigger pulse generators. Accordingly, the thyristor conducts and the load output voltages will be like this. On the output, we are having output pulses. So these are the 1, 2, 3, 4 pulses for the positive half cycle, and these are the 1, 2, 3, 4 pulses for the negative half cycle. A high frequency triangular wave VC is compared with the sinusoidal reference wave of desired frequency. These both are compared in the comparator. The intersection of this VC and VR determines the switching points and commutation points of modulated pulse. So here we are having the switching pulse and here we are having the commutation, switching point and triggering point and commutation points for the thyristor. Accordingly, we are generating the pulses. The carrier and referent waves are compared in the comparator circuit. When sinusoidal wave has magnitude higher than triangular wave, when this magnitude is more than the triangular wave, the triggering pulses are generated. The triggering pulses are generated. Accordingly, we are getting the output voltages. Output voltages. So these are the waveforms for sinusoidal pulse width modulation technique. Okay, and here also we are having more number of pulses for every half cycle. This control technique is widely used for industrial applications. In the above method, the reference signal is a square wave signal, but in this method the reference signal is sine wave. Okay, so multiple pulse width modulation technique and sinusoidal pulse width modulation technique will be used in industries. In this, we are using sine wave as the reference signal. The gate pulses for the switches is generated by comparing the sine wave reference signal with a triangular carrier wave. The width of each pulse varies with the variation of amplitude of the sine wave. So the output pulse width will be according to the amplitude of the sine wave. So sine wave changes accordingly, output pulse width will be changing. Earlier case, the width of the pulse will be almost constant, but here it will be changing. The frequency of output waveform is the same as frequency of reference signal. Reference signal frequency will be equal to output signal frequency. The output voltage is a sine wave and RMS value can be controlled by controlling the modulation index. The waveforms are shown. So this is regarding sinusoidal pulse width modulation. Actually, in this we have mainly focused on the pulse width modulation technique. Why we are going with pulse width modulation techniques are with this pulse width modulation technique, the lower order harmonics are eliminated, and by using filtering circuits, we can remove the higher order harmonics. So that problem will be eliminated, and we are having fast control in the existing circuit. And in this class, we have mainly discussed on different pulse width modulation technique. In that, single pulse width modulation, multiple pulse width modulation, sinusoidal pulse width modulation. So these things we have discussed, and now we are going to discuss the applications of inverters. So this is the last topic in this chapter 3. So please you try to remember the inverters are mainly used in adjustable speed AC drives. So where we require the adjustment in speed of the drive is required. At that time we are going for these inverters, and we are using in induction heating. In induction heating we require higher frequencies, so that we are getting by using the inverters. And we are using, these are in standby aircraft power supplies. We are using inverters in UPS for computers, and these will be used in HVDC transmission systems. Actually, these HVDC transmission systems are transmitting the AC power. AC power, that AC power will be transmitted by using a DC link. DC link. So at the starting end, we are converting this AC into DC by using a converter assembly, and that DC will be again converted to AC by using inverter. So at that end, at the receiving end, of the at the load end, at the load end of the HVDC link, we are using converters. So these are the main applications. Please you remember, in examinations they are asking applications of inverters. List the applications of inverters. Okay, so in domestic, if we remember, in computers we are using, for computers we are using, in UPS we are using inverters, in adjustable speed of AC drives, in induction heating, and in standby aircraft power supplies. If main power switch on, for that power supply purpose, inverters will be used as a standby, and it will be used in HVDC transmission lines. So these are the main applications, and we will solve a small quiz on this investor topic. With this, we have completed chapter 3, inverters and cycloconverters. We will solve some small quiz based on the pulse width modulation technique. In the single pulse width modulation method, the output voltage waveform is symmetrical about. In single pulse modulation method, the output voltage is waveform is symmetrical about pi, 2 pi, pi by 2, pi by 4. Okay, so actually, uh, in this question, during a positive half cycle, we are having one pulse for a given signal. So that output waveform will be symmetrical about pi by 2. Pi by 2. So answer is C. The waveform is a positive in the first half cycle and is symmetrical about pi by 2 in the first half. So in the first half it will be symmetrical about pi by 2, and during the negative half cycle it will be symmetrical about 3 pi by 2. 3 pi by 2. Next question. In the single pulse width modulation method, the output voltage waveform is symmetrical about dash in the negative half cycle. So in continuation to that, for the previous question, option A 2 pi, option B 3 pi by 2, option C pi by 2, option D 3 pi by 4. Actually, it will be symmetrical about 3 pi by 2. Okay, so in the negative half wave is symmetrical about 3 pi by 2. The shape of output voltage waveform in a single pulse width modulation is output voltage waveform is square wave, triangular wave, quasi square wave, sine wave. So output waveform is a quasi square wave. So option is C. Positive and negative half cycles of the output voltages are symmetrical about pi by 2 and 3 pi by 2 respectively, and the shape of waveform is obtained is quasi square wave. So option C. In case of single pulse width modulation, with pulse width is equal to 2D to eliminate nth harmonic from the output voltage. D is equal to pi, 2D is equal to pi, nd is equal to pi, nd is equal to 2 pi. So actually to eliminate harmonic, nd is equal to pi and the width of the pulse d is equal to pi by n. So option C, to eliminate the nth harmonic, nd is made equal to pi. So nd is equal to pi, then d is equal to pi by n. In case of single pulse width modulation, with one pulse width is equal to 2D, to eliminate third harmonic from the output voltage waveform, the value of pulse width 2D must be equal to. Actually, to remove third harmonic, 3D will be equal to 180. Then D is equal to 180 by 3. 180 by 3, that is 60 degrees. Then width of the pulse will be equal to 2D. 2 into the 60. 120. Option C. Option C is the answer. Width of the pulse 2D is equal to 120, where D is determined at pi by n. Pi by n, where n is the nth harmonic. We need to eliminate. So accordingly, it will be 120 degrees. In case of single pulse width modulation with the pulse width 2D, to eliminate fifth harmonic from the output voltage, the value of pulse width will be. So it is 5 by 5, 36 into 2, 72 degrees. Option A, 72 degrees. Several equidistant pulses per half cycle are used in dash type of modulation technique. Several equidistant pulses per half cycle. Equidistant pulses will be generated in multi-pulse modulation technique. So option B. In multi-pulse modulation, several equidistant pulses per half cycle are used. In multi-pulse modulation, the comparator is given dash and dash types of waveform set to its input in multi-pulse, square wave and triangular wave. So option D, square and triangular. So in today's class, we are mainly focused on the pulse width modulation techniques which are used in inverters, and in that we have mainly discussed multiple pulse width modulation technique and sinusoidal pulse width modulation, and we have observed that the pulse width will be uniform in multiple pulse width modulation, and it will be varying in sinusoidal pulse width modulation, and we are generating more number of pulses in each positive half cycle and negative half cycle. Okay, so if you have any questions, you can ask me. Otherwise, you put that questions in comment box so that we will discuss in the next video lesson. Thank you all of you for sparing your valuable time with this class. Thank you all of you.